Got another Ducati V4 in, and we believe we may have hit an issue with this one. So we've done a run on it, and it makes 144 horsepower. So these normally, even in basic trim, are around about 200. So there's clearly an issue. Running the diagnostics on it and everything doesn't seem to show anything, but we're gonna have to dig in and find out what's gone wrong. We believe it may be something to do with the exhaust, because these have actually got baffles in them, and because of how short the can is, it could be restricting it quite aggressively. But normally when you've got heavily restricted baffles, you can hear the bike whistle, goes because of the velocity of the air going through, and also it generates a ton more heat, and I'm not necessarily smelling or feeling that it's getting that hot, and I can't hear the whistle, so I don't know what it is. Stay tuned, let's try and find out. Thinking caps on. Already ran it. Now we've ran it with the diagnostics on, so we've had the full diagnostic package open so we can see exactly what all of the sensors are doing. And we have got faults on this. This is stock at the minute. We haven't done anything to the ECU or anything yet. So we've got the oxygen sensors unplugged. Well, the customer already did that. So we know that they're going to be a problem. We've already checked them. They're fine. It's the only fault that the bike's got is oxygen sensors and exhaust control valve, because obviously that's been deleted as well. But it doesn't show that the bike's running a default limp mode to drop the power off. And I'm still getting full throttle. So I'm able to see what the actual throttle blades themselves are doing, not what the twist grip's doing. That's irrelevant. It's actually what the ECU's demanding. And it's still giving me 100% throttle, but we're still super low power. There's not really anything else through the diagnostics that seems to be an issue. So we're thinking more along the lines of a mechanical problem, hence exhaust, air filter, or anything to do with the air intake system, whether there's some, because this has been a track bike, even though it's only got 900 miles on, it's done every single mile on track. So we need to see if it's sucked anything in there that's now blocking the air filter, or the exhaust themselves are causing the blockage. So we're gonna pull everything apart and see what's gone wrong. We've pulled the air filter and checked the intake duct to see if there's anything in there, whether it be debris, tear off, something like that. There's nothing obvious. The filter's not super clean, but not 70 brake dirty. So we'll leave it open, because I might put a camera in there to be able to see the velocity stack change working and stuff like that. So I'll leave that as it is for now, and then we'll swap these out now. So can you see through that? So you've got that's a dB killer. It's quite a reduction. Is it 70 brake? We'll find out. But it rattles. Someone's dropped a washer. Ah! These will be much quieter. Make sure the Termi logo is the right way around. what we're looking at here is this is our data table. Now, what I care about for this is this, the one that's highlighted now. So that is, this is because it runs separate throttle body banks. And what we're making sure of is that it's opening. So you barely see it move right now because it's fly-by-wire. The APS is the actual throttle position. So this is the twist grip, which you can see move. If you go back to this, you can see that the percentage of that goes up to 100, well 99.9. But the ones above it, these are the degrees opening of the actual throttle blades themselves. So you've got two in this. So you've got one bank for cylinder 1 and 2, and then another bank for cylinder 3 and 4. So what we want to see is those open. Now, it actually only reads to 82%, but that is actually 100%. So we basically just keep an eye on that while we're doing the run and make sure that they're adjusting, as well as looking at lots of other stuff. So let's give it a run now that we've done the air filter, done the exhaust. Let's make some noise. The process has just basically gone there. We've done another set of runs, obviously with the no air filter in there, and then straight through cans. And it's no real difference. The power's eking up, but I think that's more to do with the heat than anything else. So we have got current faults on the engine already, which is the oxygen sensors and the exhaust control valve. So what I'm going to try and do is plug them back in somehow. We didn't fitted this system, the customer did, so we don't actually have everything that we need to be able to plug it completely back to stock and then see what it's like. So we're going to try and see what we can do there to be able to remove all the faults and then try it again, because when we're running through the data, things we were looking for was to make sure that the throttle's opening completely, the velocity stacks are moving out of the way, all the things that we expect to be able to get it to go to full power. Now everything's doing exactly what it's supposed to be doing. The velocity stacks are moving, the throttle seems to be going to the right values, all that type of stuff. But on the data screen, under the statuses, it still only says that we're at part throttle, even though we're at 100% throttle, and the fact that the throttle is open. So I'm thinking maybe it's got like a soft power limiter thing that's occurring, even though all of the sensor readings from everything, so the other stuff that we checked out when we were looking through the data, is because we've got access to it, we're able to see what the pressures of each individual cylinder are. So that would indicate if we've got a mechanical problem. Say for example, we had a big hole in a piston. You're gonna know because all of a sudden in one cylinder, it's not gonna make any draw, there's not gonna be any vacuum created, there's not gonna be any negative pressure. But when we're looking at all of the signals from each individual cylinder, they're all pretty close, they're all within 10%, and the front bank to the rear bank are pretty much bang on the money. So the front two and the back two basically read the same, and then the banks independently are about 10% out. So they're all doing what we're supposed to be doing. The ignition timing all looks correct, the fuel quantities all look about correct. Everything seems to say it should be making the power, but obviously we are drastically down. We're at 150 and we're still 50 brake away. Now, soft tyre and all of that, yeah, okay, it's going to lose 10 brake, but I mean, we ran another identical bike to this with pretty much the same tyre on it, and that was 200 brake. So we have obviously got something awry. What we don't want to do is we can flash the ECU to remove all of these faults, but I don't want to do that because as soon as I flash the ECU, this bike is literally brand new. So where possible, if there's a fault with the bike, it's not necessarily down to us to dig in and fix something that's underlying, that's got nothing to do with what we're doing, because it'll invalidate the warranty and then Ducati, the customer can't go back to Ducati. So before we make that a problem for the customer, we want to try and do all our due diligence to make sure that it's not something else. So right now, the big thing is plug the sensors in as best we can to be able to remove the fault codes. If we can remove the fault codes and then the bike's up to full power, all laughing because we can turn them off in the ECU. But as I say, I don't want to turn them off in the ECU just yet because it might be a bit premature, because if I do that and then it's got nothing to do with them, then it's a bigger problem because it's unfortunate for the customer. So we're going to do this now and see where we are.
Said doo-doo.
Doo-doo! Done a couple more tests and so far so not so good. So we've now done some more physical tests. So we've actually put a camera into the intake to make sure that the throttle valve is doing what the data's saying, which is making sure it's going to fully open, which it is. So there's nothing wrong with that. We've connected up all the O2 sensors and we've fitted a exhaust servo delete as well. So we've got everything on there so that we've been able to completely clear the faults to make sure that there's not that's causing any issues. And the bike electronically is saying everything's happy and it's fine with everything, but it's still only making 150 brake. So, and as I said, we've then obviously also put a probe in there to check to make sure that the throttle valves are opening, and they are. We're at the point where the fueling's not perfect, but it's not justifiable for it to lose 50 brake from the fueling being that poor, and it's not a fuel pressure problem because higher up the fueling's not too bad. If you look at if I show you the graphs, so you can see the green is the trace as it is right now. The orange is actually a run on another SP2 with a similar trim, and that's actually its first run. So you can see on that also had the oxygen sensors unplugged. It basically ran okay and then ran a bit rich at the top. This is, no, do it from me to it. So if you look at the graph, these are all the runs of this bike, and then the amber orangey run is from another SP2 with pretty much the similar kit on it, and that is actually its first run with the oxygen sensors unplugged. And you can see on the orange one on a different bike, it runs pretty good and then it goes a little bit rich at the top. This is the green. Now it is lean, so anywhere between 12 and the 14, as long as you're within that boundary, you're okay. Now it is outside the 14s, it's high 14s and into the 15s. However, with that said, it still shouldn't drop as much, and then when it comes in at the top, higher up the rev range, it should still then pick back up again. So it changes this to engine speed. You can see that when it gets to this 12,000 rev area, it should then pick back up, but it doesn't. It still stays pretty lazy. It's as though it doesn't do something from this point, like it's not igniting properly, or it's retarded a little bit there, or the throttle's not opening. But from what we can see, it is. It's still saying as well that it's on partial full power. It's like partial load, so it's not. Maybe there's something there, but we can't see what it's doing. So anyway, we've done what we can. We've done all the physical tests that we can do up to the point of flashing the ECU. Now if we flash the ECU, it's going to void his warranty and then it causes bigger problems. So we're going to have a little chat with Ducati, we're going to have a chat with the customer and see what they want to do. But from this point now, we kind of just want to box clever with it and not go too far down the rabbit hole and cause more problems. But we've done everything that we could possibly do for now. So we get a lot of stuff now where it's basically like, try this, try that, try the other stuff. So the obvious stuff is fuel pressure. Is it making fuel pressure? Well, the thing is, we know that we're getting enough fuel pressure because at high revs, we're getting the fuel. The fuel's there or thereabouts. It's not perfect, but it's not horrendous, going to cause it not to run. So we know that we must be getting enough there. The tyre is going to cause us to drop some power, but it's a similar tyre to that bike. That our datum there, our base test, is against the bike with the exact same tyre on. So it can't really be that. Chain's okay, everything else is okay. The air system is exactly the same as the test one as well. The only unknown is the exhaust system. So we didn't fit this system, it was fitted by the customer. It could be an issue there, but again, we'll have to talk to the customer and see if he wants us to then take it all apart. We're at the point where we'd have to charge a lot more hours to do a lot more diagnostics, and we need to touch base before we do anything else. So we'll see where we are.